Welcome to the Dana Grant Show, where heart-centered stories, authentic connections, real talk, and real action come together. I'm your host, Dana Grant. I'm a life coach, speaker, and believer in the boundless power within every one of us. Each week, we're diving into raw, transformative conversations that not only spark healing, but growth and unshakable clarity. Because you know what? Your story matters. Your voice deserves to be heard, and your purpose is waiting to be fully lived. You're in the right place. Let's begin. Welcome back to the Dana Grant Show, where I have a special guest in store for you today. In fact, he shouldn't even be here. He is a professional cyclist that was, at 16, pronounced dead. Yes, you heard me right, pronounced dead. And he is here to tell not only his story, but his recovery, what he's built out, whom he wrote a book with. And we're going to let this unfold because he has a tremendous story. You're going to want to know him. I fell in love with him from the minute he energetically came into my field of vision at Secret Knock, an event in San Diego. We beelined it across the room, and here he is less than a month later. So, Nathan, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so grateful that we're speaking and that we're doing this podcast, because when you go to those events, right, you meet a lot of people, but only a few really stand out to you. And that's, of course, how our relationship began, right?
Absolutely. And if I didn't say your last name already, did I skip that? Barkocy, because people are going to want to know your name, Nathan Barkocy. You have done incredible things, because what I also didn't add is that you are only 25.
26.
So you just turn 26? Did I
Well,
get that
I've
right?
been
Or maybe
in
for a while
July,
now?
so
Okay. Well,
I started writing my book when I was 25. So
okay. So
we'll say that fits into the time frame.
yeah, 25, 26. It's like, wow, you have done incredible things. I like to call people old souls when they drop into enormous wisdom and courage beyond their chronological years. So let's start. Let's take us back. Let's tell a little bit of a story here. Take us back to 16. You're a professional cyclist. Tell us where you were, what was going on, how that unfolded, and what came next.
Perfect. So back in 2016, I was a sophomore in high school. 2016, I was nationally ranked as a competitive cyclist. I was top 10. The first race I ever did was the state time trial of New Mexico, and I won that for my age group. And so I thought, well, I'll stick with this, And sure enough, the training continued. And I went and I started competing against men in their 30s, right? Semi-professional men. And I was scaling very quickly as a competitive cyclist, and I was hitting every necessary step to bring me to the large stages that I was so passionately training for, right? So I had my eyes set on the Olympics. I had my vision set on the Tour de France, on becoming an internationally renowned competitive cyclist. And I was hitting all of those goals. Like I said, I was state champion of New Mexico. I was the state road race leader of New Mexico, youngest to ever win the Tour of the Gila. I was top 10 in the nation. And that was just the beginning of my career. I had really only been racing about a year and a half. And so the sky was the limit, right?
And I knew this to be true. You were on the radar. You were actually, that trajectory would have definitely been in place.
That was my passion. That was my purpose. That was what I was desiring. That's in what I was training for. And I would spend hours on the bike every single day. And it was all training all the time. And that's where I was focusing. And then January 23rd of 2016, I was going out on another training ride with my coach and my teammate. So it turns out my mother that morning had taken me with her to a breakfast with some of her friends. And I brought the bike in my car, and then I took off from the restaurant where she was to go ride with my team, and she stayed with her friends at the restaurant. And so we set out on this training ride, and while I was on this training ride, I was hit by a car at 60 miles an hour. So that immediately, upon impact, you can see the windshield was shattered, just the spider web of shattered glass. You can see where my shoulder and my hip hit the windshield. It shot me forward 100 feet, and I laid on the ground unconscious. My coach rushed over to my side, just shaking me awake to see if I had any response, and I was responseless. So the officer who came to the side of the scene reported it as a fatality, and that was when he was. So it turns out my coach, who was training with me that day, of course, he had been really, on the front right side of me, and so when the car hit me, it shot me forward and knocked him off his bike as well. So
Did you see that coming at all? Or was it that you were blindsided?
blindsided entirely, and I don't remember this. This is
Yeah.
all me. This is all me relaying this to you,
Yeah.
from what I've been told. But I don't remember the accident itself.
Yeah.
Now, when the ambulance did come and pick me up, it also there was another ambulance for my coach, and so sure enough, my mom got a call, and she knew that if her phone ever started ringing while I was on a training ride from my coach, something good did not happen, right? This was
Right.
definitely a problem. So
Yeah.
she answered the call, and he says, um, "We got hit by a car. Nathan's in the other hospital. We're not sure if he's alive." Wow, you can, I mean, you can't imagine, right? To hear
Well,
that
I can
message.
because we talked about I went through a similar story with my husband being exact same thing. Same I can't imagine, and it is pure trauma.
Yeah,
I can't imagine. I almost want to like give me your mom's number. I want to reach out and have a phone call with her because I know her heart when she thinks about that moment still Twitter page still flips.
right.
But
Yeah, and this is why I'm grateful to be with you today, because you do understand that, and I'm so sorry that you've had to experience that as well, and that tragic accident with your husband. I mean, we both encountered death, right? And
yeah,
so, yeah, it was in that time. So I died on the scene, and then I was in a coma for 2 weeks. I was miraculously open. I opened my eyes after 2 weeks, and when I did, I was paralyzed. So I was in the ICU for a month, and they told my parents I would never walk again, and I wouldn't finish high school, and they put me on a medical flight up to Craig Hospital in Denver, which is where they work on traumatic brain injury rehab and
I was just
spinal
gonna
cord
say the
injury.
brain injury.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that I was rolled into that hospital in a wheelchair, and I don't even remember that. So I don't remember being in the ICU, and I don't remember being delivered to the hospital. My first memories are waking up in bed in the hospital, at Craig Hospital, and I was struggling to lean over just to press a button to have a
Yeah.
nurse come roll me out of bed into a wheelchair. But I still knew in my mind that I was a nationally ranked cyclist.
You
So
didn't, it wasn't, you weren't really in this cognitive state of understanding that I just got hit, was dead, came back, and I'm even in any form of recovery. I'm just trying to push a button. And I think I know where I am. Would that be accurate? I think I
yeah,
know where I am.
it was, yeah. So it's interesting. The actual, my responsiveness, right? My rational presence was that I knew what happened, and I knew what I had witnessed, what I had experienced in death, but I was here in this new stage where I was still struggling
Did
to
you think it
see.
was real? Did you think that I died and came back or I'm dreaming and this is all, I'm in some kind of weird funk right now?
That is such a great question. I don't know how to answer that question in reality, because
Yeah.
it was my reality,
Yeah.
so it's a movie, right? It's a movie for
Oh, I
someone
love
else. You
that.
could make a
Yeah.
movie
Take us
out of
through
it.
the movie because that's
Yeah,
exactly what I think you went through was
yeah,
something that was like you were witnessing it and not being connected, but feeling a little disconnected. Like, is this
yeah.
happening?
It's so hard to articulate that, right? And it's so hard to explain to someone that experience. and this is why I've been hosted on many podcasts that are hosted by people who have had near-death experiences
Yeah.
themselves. And those podcasts are incredible because the questioning on those podcasts, you can tell, right? They experienced this, right? And obviously
Yeah.
on this podcast, you know the trauma and the pain of this type of accident. And so I know that we can speak the same language in that regard. But
Yeah.
regardless, it's so hard to actually put it into words, just
Right.
the actual experience that I was living through. But that was what brought me to the hospital. And 2 months later, sure enough, I did walk out of the hospital. So
So let's
I
go
was
down. Let's go
discharged.
back because I do want to know this. And knowing who I am, being born and intuitive, never wanting to see or visit or having people visit me on any level, I'm like, I mean, I was terrified with enormous panic attacks when dead people started showing up, and I'm like, no, we are not doing this. I
Yeah.
am not built for this. I am not. I did not sign up for this. But it's the energy of where I was born, and now I utilize it in everything I do. But that being said, in your experience when you knew you died and came back, was there a form of enlightenment, gratitude? What is the emotional feeling that you felt at that
Oh, and
moment?
yeah, entirely. I mean, it was like a light switch. So you really understand what truly holds value in life, which is your time, right? Because tomorrow
Oh,
is never promised.
so
And so
time became everything to you. My
every
time.
single right, every single day, I woke up and I just prayed a prayer of gratitude for another day, right? And the days were painful, right? I was having to learn how to walk again, and I was having to deal with these scars of I mean, these lacerations that were down to my bone. And it was a painful recovery, but regardless, every single day since I can consciously remember, um, waking up after the coma, I have been thanking God for another day that we see the sun, right? Another day that we can breathe and live, because that isn't just for me, right? That is for everyone. It is such a miracle that any of us are even alive entirely, right? But then to be able to live each day and witness another sunrise and be with the people that are lifting you up just like this, right? Sharing time with another person, that is so miraculous, right? So that was by far the biggest shift in my mindset, right? Was a mindset of complete gratitude for every small particular thing, because nothing is ever promised, right?
And that's before 18. You have the awakening that I am grateful for every moment, every speck of time that is given to me. I mean, that right there, that's people on their deathbed at 80 or 90 want to go back. And the one thing I hear the most is if I only valued the time, if I only spent more time. And you learned that before 18, which when I like beelined it over to you and I just literally grabbed you and I said, I mean, I was like, I have to know you. I mean, all these people are trying to get to us. And I'm like, it's like, you were the only person in the room. I saw your whole life like go boom, 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 boom. And it was just like, this is an incredible human. Not just what you went through, but where how you show up energetically, even now. So okay,
Well, thank you. Yeah.
so
And
you're
that's
it, yeah,
and that's amazing. And really, I mean, that's what I always want to tell people. And if your audience can hear this, right? Everyone gets that final, maybe a feeling of regret or remorse because they wish they would have done more, or maybe a feeling of longing to go back into the past and change things because
yeah,
they wish they were back in that moment. Well, I don't want you to die, right? I don't want anyone to die to have to experience this. I did that for you, right? Take the lessons from me and just understand that
yeah.
every single moment, every single decision you make, right, is so important, because every small decision shapes your future, shapes the direction that you're headed. And even the smallest decisions that seem like they're not a big deal, I'm even at fault for this one, right? You bypass that, you overlook those.
Yeah.
But every single decision is so important. Every single relationship you have, every single reaction you make or you have, that is pivotal because your life is an abundance of wealth, right? It's an abundance of grace. And so that we ought to act like tomorrow is never promised and make the most of today, you know?
Not that I'm jumping over a huge part of your story, but you just said something that was really profound. And I'm always telling people my time is my most valuable resource. And they're like, no, money is your most valuable. No, no, money is going to follow my authority. And if my time is spent wisely, where I use my power of discernment that God has given me and sourcing God and me up and down right here, I trust that, which means I call in the right people and I trust that, which means money is going to follow me as just being what it is, source, and it's going to follow us in our authority and our ability. And then, of course, the ability to hold on to it and invest and do all the things that we're going to talk about. But it bringing you to the point at 25, you write a book called Old Wealth, New Wealth, True Wealth. And you write it with Sharon Lechter, who is like I'm not going to call her a guru, but I mean, how many best-selling books? 19. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I mean, she is literally the queen and king. I'm just going to say the pinnacle of where she shows up. I listen. I adore her. I've had her on the podcast. She's done no nonsense. Um, she's interesting. It was like I thought she'd just run with her story, but she's like, show up, Dana, ask me better questions. And it was in the beginning of my podcast. She just and then next, she was not going to give me any grace when it came to, she's like, do you want to know more? Ask better questions. I mean, I loved how she pushed me into my genius. It was that show that I said, okay, all right, you're going to have to drop in and you're not going to wing this because you were winging that and thought that maybe she'd carry you there and she didn't. She answered exactly what you asked.
Right.
No more, no less, but she was there for it, which I loved. I mean, I loved it because I learned so much. But you called her in. Tell us how that unfolded. You wrote the book, and I mean, Old Wealth, New Wealth, True Wealth, and you're 25, and now you're calling in millions of dollars. Just tell us what transpired to not only build, but write and attract Sharon Lechter to write a book, co-author with you.
And isn't that such an honor to say that? Because like you said, Sharon is
Yeah.
she is the pinnacle, right? She is the, I love how you said guru because that's not a title she would identify
No,
with.
she would
But
say, "Oh, stop it, stop it, stop it."
yeah,
But let's face it, when she was on the podcast, it was 19 pages of, I don't mean little awards, huge awards, fiscal, financial, she's teaching people and she's taught me. She's changed my relationship to money because there was so much shame and stories and beliefs around it that she gave me the information that I needed in order to change just my connection with it, which changed everything.
yeah, and she's a big
Literacy,
advocate
yeah,
for the
literacy.
the concept of the power of association, right? Which is
Yes,
exactly what I gained through partnership with her, right? Through
yes.
mentorship with her, because she brought me into rooms that I wouldn't have accessed otherwise, right? And she brought my story out of me because we all have a story, right? We all have a story. And yes, my story it's incredible, but everyone has an incredible story, right?
I
So we
think,
need to bring
well,
that
I
out.
believe that, but you had unbelievable circumstances that you overcame, and then you made your greatest choice is the power to choose. You chose to utilize this. And I mean, it was like lighting, you can light a match and blow it out, then you can light a bonfire and just fan it and it just
Mhm.
boom. I mean, you lit a
Right.
bonfire,
Yeah.
let's go there.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, this book, Old Wealth, New Wealth, True Wealth, it all came from, of course, I mean, first days of my recovery in the hospital. I wanted to write a book about my story, right? Because of the suffering and then
Yeah.
it's a whole biblical corpus, right? So the suffering, the death, and the resurrection, and that
Yeah.
was made manifest in my life. And so I wanted to write a book about that. And then I always had that passion. And then I get into business because I was working with a real estate investment firm up in New Jersey. And that's where I was an assistant to the CEO. And he actually fired me because he told me to go start my own business. And so that's another, resurrection story, because
Yeah.
I thought I was on the way to being, his assistant for life. It was a great situation. And he said, go start your own company. So there's another resurrection.
So,
And
I
then
mean, he sees the genius in you again and says, hey, listen, this is not, you know what? I can't even compete. You need to like go lead, which
yeah.
is what I saw. Huge
Yeah.
leadership at a young age,
And
25.
then,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that was the best CTA I could have had, right? The best call to action, because that
Yeah.
helped me get into my first real estate portfolio. That's where I launched my real estate restoration business. And all of those are results of failure, right? Or of suffering, so I was fired from there. Then I invested into this real estate portfolio, which was improperly developed. So then I had to demo and reconstruct that portfolio.
How did you have the knowledge? I mean, here you have your accident, you're in high school, you recover, you go and you do that, and then you have all this wisdom and this. I mean, this is what blows me away. It takes people, I mean, let's just download this. It takes people years to get the wisdom to build portfolios, and very few people build it at the magnitude and at the speed that you've done it.
Well, it's all about power of association. Here we go again.
Oh,
The
really?
rooms that you get yourself in, right? Because I was helping that CEO. His name is Josh McCallan. I was helping him produce his podcast, which was the Capital Hacking Podcast, and he had so many incredible thought leaders that came onto that podcast. Robert Kiyosaki was on the podcast, and a lot of other names. That's what got me into Rich Dad Poor Dad, and so I was learning from all of these incredible real estate developers and investors and syndicators. And so I was learning so much through them. It was like a paid mentorship, because I was working for Josh, but I was also learning at the same time. And I came to him for advice too. I said, where would you go? Where would you go if you were my age and you wanted to invest? What would you do? And he gave me advice on that. He gave me advice into whole life insurance. He gave me advice into real estate. And you can't gain this information on your own, right? And you don't gain it in the classroom either. You gain it through putting yourself in the rooms and having the courage to get in those rooms. Because I'll tell you what, once you're in these, this circle, right, this network, everybody wants you to succeed, right? Everybody wants the best for you. And so you just have to be courageous enough to ask. And that's Mark Victor Hansen's book, Ask, right? There's the power of the question. If you ask the right questions, that's what will bring you forward. And I love that that's what Sharon Lechter did for you, right? Reshaped.
Well, and she did it after, I co-founded the first ready-made, cauliflower pizza crust company that went on to be $1 billion industry. But I was so, my story was, I'm not smart enough. I don't have the law degree. It didn't matter what I accomplished. And I did incredible things, attracted incredible wealth, but I needed to take a business. I couldn't do it alone. So I trusted, someone, which was exactly the way the story needed to go. And I needed this lesson, but I didn't trust myself. And she taught me not only how to trust, but because see, I hid. I didn't tell anyone that story. I didn't tell anyone. I need to know more. They thought I knew more. I didn't. I projected I knew more. And then, so when you hide and you don't ask the right questions, and I think this is an important subject to unpack, because I think there's so much shame involved and there's so much loss. We don't lose because we know. We usually lose when we don't know and we don't ask. And I mean, we always say in a classroom, they're always like, ask everything.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone doesn't want to put their hand up and ask. And it's like, and we were in a room where there were, hey, ask anything. There was only one person that on one panel that raised their hand and asked. And I'm like, because people are afraid to look stupid, look dumb. What would people think? But it's like, it's that hand going up saying, hey, I need to know. And I want to know more about this. And would you say that most people that just don't want people to know that they don't know?
Well, and this is what's amazing and that's it, because the billionaires in my circle, I think their greatest quality across the board is the ability to ask good questions. because when you get in a conversation with these billionaires, they don't, they're not, you ask them questions because you want to learn, right?
Yeah.
But they just
Yeah.
ask you questions, and they try to learn more about you. They try to grow their
Yeah, they're
understanding.
they're good question askers, and I think this
Yeah.
is why I attract millionaire and billionaires, and I work with so many around the world, is because I can hold space for that not only vulnerability, but would you agree with this that they are curious and they ask questions that I may have that answer to. I can hold space and we can unpack, which I always say, there's someone that actually he said, Dana, by the time someone has made and perfected their proposal and it takes them this amount of time, I've already done it 3 times, fallen on my face 3 times, and my fourth proposal was a winning one, and they haven't even launched yet. What do you believe about that speed? Would you believe that to be true too, Nathan?
Well, and the trick is that there's always trials, right? And so don't be afraid to just keep trying, right? Because there's an infinite amount of possibilities for us as entrepreneurs to move forward and to pursue our dreams, right?
Mhm.
But you have to be able to laser focus and just keep persisting. And this is what I mean, like you said, I'm 26, and so I've
Yeah, and how many
learned.
mistakes could you have possibly have made so far? You have so many more to make.
I've learned a lot in my
Yes, you have.
26 years, and I've done a lot of business in my 26 years, but I still have so much to learn. And that is precisely why I'm working with someone like Sharon Lechter, because I knew I had the story and I knew I had the passion. And I am wanting to lead this younger generation to really understand the value of our time, right? Which is true wealth is ownership of your time, right? It's being able to build multiple streams of income so that you can leverage your time, so that you can increase your impact, build your legacy, and do exactly what Sharon has done, right? Which is positively impact the entire world, the globe, because she's brought true financial literacy to the
Well, and
whole
that's what I was
world.
just going to say. And now she's dropped into really teaching financial literacy, where I think that that level of and who wants to take a financial literacy course? Well, I need a financial. I think everybody should. I think that I'm going to be a student forever because I want to know more. I want to know more from you. Even at your wisdom at 26 is beyond. I don't look at chronological years. I look at the wisdom and the knowledge and what you hold, the power you hold, and your source of being so connected to God and paying it forward and saying, "Hey, this is my calling. This is what I'm here to do, and I'm going to change lives, and I'm not going to stop." And I mean,
Right.
I felt this unstoppable energy. Um, you pivoted. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not going to do the Tour de France. You pivoted, but I don't even know. Were you sad about that? Did you grieve that?
Oh, entirely. Yeah. I've just absolutely broken. And I'm grateful for my parents, especially because they were always by my side. My recovery was miraculous because of the fact that I had constant support and
Yeah.
constant prayers. And my parents would fill the hospital. And funny enough, I've been a Denver Broncos fan my whole life. And the one year that they won the Super Bowl in my lifetime was the year I was in a coma. And so
Oh.
so although I was less responsive than I am right now, um, they did. My parents hosted an entire Super Bowl party in the
Probably
ICU.
there with you in the room. Don't think that you subconsciously were
Right.
not absorbing, because I think everything is energy and
Yeah.
source. It just is, and everything is vibration, and that you were feeling all of that regardless of whether you were conscious or not. I believe the subconscious runs most of our programming anyway. And
Entirely, right. And we forget that, and that was absolutely the foundation of my recovery was their constant support, their constant prayer over me, and the power of that, right? And so that is my biggest takeaway from my accident, right? I try to pour into my children as much as I can because I now understand, even at the subconscious level, how important that is, right? To give of yourself, that
so
is
how
true
many
wealth.
children? How many children? Let's slow down.
Yeah.
You're 26 and you're married,
Yes.
and now you have two children,
Two kids, yeah.
a boy and girl.
Two boys.
Two boys, and what are the
Yeah.
ages?
Yeah, we have two, like a toddler and then a little baby. And so
Oh, a newbie.
we're going through some potty training with my toddler, and my sweet little baby is growing up quickly. So
Yeah,
I love it, and I'm so blessed by a beautiful bride who is the foundation of our home,
yeah.
and that is, for me, true wealth is having dinner around the dinner table with my family every single night. So I will do what's necessary to ensure that I can have dinner with my family around the dinner table every night, right?
I'm a huge believer of that. When cell phones came out and my children, they were coming out, I had a beautiful crystal rock bowl where everyone set their phones. I did not want them on the table. I had no idea the wisdom I had. I just knew I wanted everyone to be present and I wanted to connect. And having three daughters, um, I'm just I look back and those are some of my proudest moments that I required dinner every night, even though it drove everybody crazy. And every Sunday I required, whether they were in college or not, to come home if they were local, to come home and have a family dinner. And now they're in their late 30s and much older than you. And they talk about that. And I think it matters. So what you're saying now, look at the wisdom at your age. It's people spend a lifetime. And I just want to acknowledge this over and over again and impress upon you that this is, I mean, it isn't the basic stuff that a 26-year-old does, it just isn't. They've got a different mindset and process going on. I'm not saying everyone, just superlatives always best, never worse, but in the generalization,
Yeah,
you
general.
are an exception to the rule, and this is why you're here. You are, I'm not going to say one in a million. You might be one in a zillion.
There we go.
Um,
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you say that. At my book launch event, we had Ken McElroy there, and he got up. I asked him to define true wealth to the audience that was there in his words, right? And so he got up there and he said, Nathan, I can tell you I was not thinking about legacy when I was a 26-year-old.
no, no,
Yeah. But
or
and
having dinner with
that's
the family,
right.
or yeah, no, yeah, it's a different energy.
And that's talk about the power of association there, right? Getting into the right rooms. I mean, so honored to be with people like Sharon Lechter and Ken McElroy and Eric Swanson and Mark Victor Hansen and Russell Gray and all of these names that have been just idols for business, right? And
Right.
and having them with me to really redefine wealth, because everyone agrees that true wealth, and this is funny, these are actually Ken McElroy's words. He said true wealth equals time, freedom, love, and peace. And he put that up on a YouTube video 2 weeks
I,
after I
I,
gave him mine. So
I think that's on my podcast.
yeah,
That's my like mantra of like what true connection is. I love that.
yeah,
Say
yeah.
say that again. Say it again because I think it's so important. True wealth is what?
True wealth equals time, love, or no, time, freedom, love, and peace.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that time freedom, right? So, time and freedom, two separate, but they're also time freedom together, right? Owning your time, true ownership of your time through ownership of real assets. We aren't taught this stuff, right? So, that's why I'm so passionate. That's why I've started my True Wealth community, is because I want these proactive and aspiring entrepreneurs to gain a full understanding of real assets, right? True capitalism and real business, how to build those, how to start those, how to grow that, and then how that can improve your life by giving you time freedom. But then it's what we do with the time freedom. No other community is teaching you that, right? No other community is teaching you where do you take that time freedom, because we've seen a lot of incredibly successful, highly successful and high performing, ultra high net worth individuals who have pushed really, really hard, but they sacrificed themselves along the way, right? They sacrificed their true sovereignty.
And then we're looking at 40, 50, 60, they're divorced, their families are falling apart, They're like, I wish I could have, should have, would have. If I could go back, I would. And you are actually building out your legacy of not, I see so much of it. I coach so much of it.
Hmm.
And it's like, well, we can't be in coulda, shoulda, woulda. The ego wants you to stay there, but let's attract and let's learn from that. But you are in a position where you are actually learning that now. What do you think defines you differently? And can you even decipher that from the average 26-year-old? And I hate to emphasize the chronological age, but usually, and we're going general in the general, and I love statistics. I'm a numbers junkie. Most people have midlife crises. Their marriages are falling apart. They've overworked. They're slay all day. They're doing, and you at a young age are doing it differently. You're building it differently. You value it differently. Was it all ensued to the accident, or were you just built this way?
Well, so this is interesting, and I like this question. There's a lot of answers to this question, so I'll try to wrap it up in one.
Yeah,
Um,
no, go as far and broad as you
yeah,
want because it was a big encompassed question.
yeah. So what was tricky for me when I was writing this book is that my mentality from day one of my life has been the David Goggins mentality, right? Quote unquote. And that means, right, that I always was pushing myself to be the best at what I was doing, whatever I was passionate about. I was never truly passionate about school, so
Yeah.
I
Was your
did
money your focus?
not at all, not at all, not at all. I was solely focused on cycling, and that's why I was pushing for that. As
Let
a
me ask
cyclist.
a second question because I know the audience, I want to paint them a picture, and the ones of you that are not on YouTube and you're listening on other platforms where you can't get a visual, he's very handsome. He's very, I mean, did you let's go back even outside of that. Did your family have wealth? And did you not have any worries? You had no hunger, no, like, I don't need to attract wealth because my family's got wealth and I'm just okay.
Yeah, good question. I never hungered, and I was very comfortable. Both of my parents were so my dad was a pharmaceutical sales rep for some time, but by the time I really got into this phase of my life, both of my parents were teachers. So my dad was a Catholic high school teacher, and my mom was she was a professor at the University of New Mexico for
Wow.
physical therapists. So it's what's funny too is that now I'm co-authoring a book with Sharon Lecter, and both of my parents are teachers. So it's the same rich dad poor dad situation. It's
I'm
literally
just gonna say, can you see the
it's
analogy? I mean,
it's the
the connection
same
there.
thing, right? It's the same thing. But
Yeah.
now this one's taking it a step further, right? Because Rich Dad Poor Dad, at least for me, right, it completely opened my eyes to financial literacy entirely. Rich Dad Poor Dad is the reason I got started in real estate
Oh
alongside.
yeah, it blew the lid off of it for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I mean, I
Yeah.
sat there saying, what? How did I not know this? And why did I resist for so long?
Right.
Well, because the story, if anyone knew what I don't know, then they would judge me. And I just crashed and burned over and over again. And once again, I was that story that I coached now because see, I tracked that because I've been through that where you have created a whole nother legacy.
Yeah, so that's what this book, right, it takes it a step further, right? So that book defines money. This book is defining wealth, right? So true wealth. So it does include the money, of course. You need the money to be able to create true wealth. We can't negate that, of course.
Well,
But
what
this
about
is
the real estate people that say, and let's just, I'm going to challenge that
yeah.
because I mean, I coach real estate billionaires that say you don't need any money to create a real estate portfolio. You can, and I come from a real estate female, my grandmother, who was one of the first real estate, I'm not going to say gurus, but massive millionaire in California. Played by her own rules and then tried to teach me. And I'm like, that isn't going to work now, grandma. That's illegal, or it's not legal now. She's like, just do it this way. I'm like, I think that might be against the law to do that. But the people that say you don't need any money, you don't need any capital, there's so much of that out there that they're selling right now. What is the truth about that, Nathan?
Wow, that's a big question. I think it really depends what you're looking at, because there is an infinite amount of capital out there, right? I mean, so there's credit, right? And if you leverage it properly, now this is going to be my real response to that question. I did some podcasts at the New Orleans Investment Conference with two twin brothers. One is 15 and one is 18, and
Wow.
they have now scaled their investment portfolio. They own I think 80 plus doors, and they're scaling their portfolio very quickly. And that actually, that number I think might be outrageously low. But what they did is they leveraged, both of their parents are real estate investors. And so they leveraged the wisdom that their parents were conveying to them, and also the connections, right? So they did a lot of, subject to, they did a lot of seller financing, they did a lot of creative financing. So there's, in answer to your question, there are ways to get into the real estate field that allow you to get in with very little money. Even all of these gurus out there that are always telling you about $0 down, it's
Yep.
possible. It
That's
is
what I'm talking
possible,
about.
right?
You see it, it's advertised. They come into your local communities, they set up at hotels, hundreds of thousands go in to make millions on
Right.
and no capital, and they get to I've never been
Yeah.
to one, but I see the signs,
Yeah.
little.
So it's not impossible. I'll say that. It's not impossible. I would never recommend it, and I'll tell you, I've over leveraged myself, particularly in real estate. I've done some wild cash out refinances into other projects, and I've moved capital a lot. And I would never wish that upon anyone. It's a lot to manage, and it's very stressful. Um, but it is possible, and it's all about the right mentorship that you get, because one thing that I can guarantee is that if you're starting from day one, you need to be around the right circle to do so. Because if you start from day one just totally blind, you will encounter countless mistakes, which you have to encounter those mistakes as an entrepreneur. But it's a lot easier to learn from the mistakes of someone who has been in the field for years and has really defined financial literacy, than to make those mistakes yourself, right? And so the power of mentorship is really the runway for true wealth. And that's what this whole book is. We've turned it into a parable. And this is actually really the answer to your question that led into this whole thing is, my mentality and how I've been my whole life. It's kind of hard for the average person. You say that a few times. So the average person to relate to the David Goggins mentality, right? Or to that Olympic mindset, because I
Well, we
was on
call
my
it the
way,
1%, the 1 to 2%, because
right?
not everyone's going to go the distance. They're going to get the idea, get inspired, but it's the consistency to that commitment that I see over and over again, that, it lights like I said, the match or the fire, and what feeds that. But you've said, I kept marking down how many times you said, get in the right room, get in the community. I, I know I'm going to ask a twofold question. Why should people read this book? And what are they going to get out of it? Now, threefold question. How did you find the right community? How did you find that community? Because I know a lot of people are like, where do I go? What room do I go in? And how do I connect? What do you believe was that magic sauce for you?
Yeah, yeah. Great question. Um, I think the answer to that question is truly observing people that you admire and people that are where you want to be.
Mhm.
Because I mean, you've heard the saying, right? If you want to be a billionaire, put yourself in a room with four other billionaires and you'll be the fifth. It's not that passive, of course, but it's all about the people you surround yourself with. And my dad always told me this growing up. He said, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future." Right? He would always say
Amen.
that. Show me your
Amen.
friends and I will
I
show you
still
your
say
future.
that. Who are the five people at your kitchen table? Who are your mentors? Who are you talking to? Yeah, I'm a big believer of that.
Yeah. And so I got into these circles because I took a big leap of faith, right? By reaching out to someone like Sharon, and that
There it was
power
right there. That's what I'm
association.
looking for. You took the leap of faith, reached out to someone that you had no idea would answer you,
Right.
And they did, and this is what opened up. And this is the bridge that I'm looking for, the magic that I think most people, and I said average as in, and anyone that's listening, you're not average, but your mindset may be average in thinking, well, he's special and that's a special circumstance. Nope. What he did was he took a risk and he reached out because he wanted to know more. And I am
Right.
a huge believer in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I was going with this, right? Is that my book, right? My story, my life story is very inspirational. It's very motivational, right? But I wanted this book to relate more to the readers because we really can see ourselves in storylines and parables more so than
Yeah.
trying to relate to an Olympian mindset or the David Goggins mentality, like I've said many times. And so that's what we've turned this book into. It's now a parable. It's about three brothers that are given a
Yeah.
riddle to solve by their father at his passing. And that riddle is the definition of true wealth. And they come to find that, and it's placed at Cherry Creek Lodge, which is Sharon Lecter's ranch out in Young, Arizona. And that was the location for the foundation of true wealth, right?
I
Because
am so sorry that I did not make it there 2 weeks ago. I am, I had a keynote, but I mean, I almost wanted to cancel and say, I'm there. I'm
yeah,
there. I'm coming because yeah, you're right. It is the foundation of a breeding ground of just, I'm going to say magic, but knowledge,
mhm.
intelligence. It just facilitates and grows and everything there. I just want to step on that property and absorb all the wisdom that
All the
have passed
wisdom,
through there prior to me. So
right?
your book, The Parable,
Yeah. So
was it
this,
written
yeah.
there? Did you go there and write it?
Well, that's where it all began. So I went to Cherry Creek Lodge, and while I was there, the editor of my book, David Strauss, was there with me, and of course Sharon was hosting us.
Yeah.
And it was at a little mastermind retreat. And while I was there, we sat down together and just started putting ideas together about how we could make this book relate more to the audience. And then it came to life. So now it's about three brothers, like I said. One represents old wealth. His name is Olden. One represents new wealth. His name is Newman. And then one represents true wealth, and his name is Nathan. And so
Oh,
you were going to say Truman, I
I was
bet.
going to say Truman. You're right. I was going to say Truman. You knew it. I was like
Yeah.
on my tip of Truman
But
because
come
I
on,
love
this is Nathan. Nathan is true wealth.
it.
Come
I know.
on.
Well, it is, and it is true. It is true. You do represent. And I will call this podcast. They call it something else, and I want to call it, the new face of wealth, the new energy of wealth. I mean, energy is overplayed, but energy is everything. God creates us in his image of the energy of what he wants for us, and he wants so much for us. And I think that we limit ourselves and our belief systems. I always say we come into this world with two fears: the fear of loud noises, the fear of falling. Everything else we create. All the stories, we create them. Source and God doesn't create them. We create them because we have free will to create them. We also have free will to create enormous wealth that is available. What I tell people, what's available to you right now is available to you in the future, or it's available.
Hmm.
But you're saying get in
Entirely,
the
yeah.
room, read the parable, get in the room. What else do they need to do?
Right. Well, and that's what, yeah. So the True Wealth community is what we're growing for proactive and aspiring entrepreneurs. And
Who is
it
it
is,
for? Do you say proactive and entrepreneur? So who is it not for? We know it's for people that are hungry and want to know more, and you're holding space for that. But who is it not for?
yeah, it's for someone who is not interested in learning more. And
Okay.
or it's not for them, right? And it's
No
it's
quick
not
fixes. No quick
it's
fixes.
not for someone who's solely focused on the money. Like if
Okay.
you are wanting to just make money to just buy the Rolex, great. But that's just the new wealth, right? You need to incorporate the old wealth and bring that together, tie it together to create true wealth. It needs to go beyond just the self-focused on yourself. So it's not for
Mm.
someone who's just wanting to make money. It's not for someone who's just wanting to be around the billionaires just because they can say that they are. It's for someone who's wanting to learn, someone who's wanting to take that wisdom that's being conveyed, take that to create true wealth that outlasts them. And this is what's amazing, right? The community is multi-tiered. Ground floor, we're teaching just financial literacy for maybe some first-time investors or someone who's doing a startup, or really, I mean, really anyone who's interested in learning more, right? And then
Right.
the next tier, I'm working with people who are scaling their business. So I have many clients that are successful business owners, but they know that at this point in their business career, it's not about just more content, it's about proximity, right? And getting in these rooms. I have amazing, I mean, I have Aaron Young and Sharon Lecter and Paul Blanchard and Alex. We have so many. Brian Smith is there, Alex Stern. So all of these incredible names.
That's so incredible. I've had so many of them on my podcast, and
Yeah,
Brian Smith, I adore his story on how UGG was lost, found, lost, found, lost, found. You're on your edge of your seat, and like, are you gonna grab the company back again? I mean, it's a great story. So
right.
I love it's a room full of wisdom and knowledge on the lessons that we learn along the way.
Right. Yeah, so that's the community that I'm building. And really it's founded on the community, right? Because I personally was feeling a lot like a solopreneur when I was building my businesses, right? And I've
Ah.
spoken with countless entrepreneurs who feel the same way. They feel like they're
Mm.
solopreneurs because they're doing it all by themselves, or they don't have a community around them to, first of all, hold them accountable to make sure they're taking the right actions. Second
Right.
of all, to build a team, because when you get to a certain point, you have to build your team so that you can scale. And then third of all, to get yourself in the room with these like-minded entrepreneurs so that you just have that community, right? You have the support, you have the positivity, and that this community is foundationally focused upon building that true wealth, which is, focused on time freedom, and it's really focused on creating that legacy which will outlast you, which goes beyond just the nice watches, just the nice cars, or even just the real estate portfolios, or just the large investment portfolios. It incorporates all of that together, and it leverages those perfectly to create your time to impact the world around you. And you said this, right? The money is a byproduct. One of my favorite quotes is from, I believe it's Naveen Jain, when he was hosted on JV Crumb's podcast. He said, if you want to create $100 billion business, go and figure out how to improve the lives of 1 billion people.
Yeah.
And you don't wake up in the morning thinking, oh, I want to create $100 billion business. You wake up in the morning and you think, how can I improve the lives of 1 billion people? Right? How can I
I always say, how can I be of service every day I wake up? How can I be of service today? How can I step out of the way of my own self and ego and be of service and attract what it is I need to know and who needs the message? And I
Right.
think it's worked so far. Hey, what do you think is the biggest challenge that people have with money?
That is a big question. Um, I would say the biggest challenge would be this scarcity mindset, because there's an abundance of opportunity. Like I was explaining to you before, there's an abundance of opportunity, and the money follows, like we were just saying. So if you truly create value, then the money will be there, right? The money will follow. And that is foundationally very entrepreneurial, very capitalist, right? That you're creating an impact. And so if you have a scarcity mindset, meaning that you're really just concerned about holding more to me, keeping myself safe, keeping me secure, then
Yeah.
you won't be able to impact those around you. And once you start impacting those around you, that's when the abundance is fulfilled.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Just brilliant. Oh, Nathan Barkocy, the book, you're going to want to get it. I am dying to read it. I don't have it yet, but I will, and it's literally on the way. I can't wait to get it in my hands. But old wealth, new wealth, true wealth. I mean, wow, if that doesn't say it all right there. I mean, I'm just going to say, I said it here first for those of you that are listening and replaying this a decade from now. I said he was a genius. He just is. I mean, a genius in every aspect of knowing that there's more and the wisdom to know the difference of what time and money and the value of all of that is, that takes sometimes people a lifetime. And most of the time, I'm going to say it again, on their deathbed, they wake into like, I wish I could have done it differently. And you're here to teach, and you wrote a book on how people can show up and do it differently now. I'm a huge advocate for that, and to learn and to ask questions and to show up in communities that are being built now for the learned knowledge of someone that is willing to take you through the tiers and connect you to communities, because I am big on that as well. It's not, people say, what is it? Not what you know, it's who you know. Yes, there's that too. And people get hung up on that. I often say that's an ego thing. But if you are doing and showing up and asking the right questions, you land in the right rooms. And you have to, like, when I met you, we are in a room of hundreds and hundreds of people, and it was dark in there. And it was like you were illuminated, and it's like, and there were literally, it's just like, boom, I made sure that I made that contact because it meant something. I knew what I knew to be true without knowing why. I stayed out of the why. I just said, that matters. Make sure you connect with him. And there were only a handful of people there less than a handful. I mean, and there were incredible people in the room that lit me up like that. And I thought, when things light me up like that, it's not only, you're gonna want to know Nathan. You're gonna want to follow his story. You're gonna want to know more about his story. We haven't even unpacked a tenth of it, but he's doing great things in the world. And I just want to thank you for showing up and sharing your story and your wisdom here today. Thank you,
Well,
Nathan.
and thank you for having me. I'm truly honored. You are a lovely host, and I appreciate our time today. And
Oh,
I'm grateful for our connection,
yeah.
and when we first met, and where this is going, because like you said, this is just the beginning. And
Oh yeah.
I
No,
am,
we have a lot we're going to do.
yeah.
There's a lot of interconnectedness that you and I are going to build and see. And I'm like, oh wow, I see that too. Unfortunately, I can't help being who I am. And it's like, yeah, it was like, yeah, you just illuminated. So thank you everyone for showing up today. I'm going to have all the links. Hey, last question. I didn't ask, but we're going to have all the links anyway. Where can people find you? Where's the hub, the community? Where do you hang out? Is it Instagram? Is it LinkedIn?
It's
Website?
everywhere.
It's
So
everywhere.
I am the only Nathan Barkocy. Our last name was actually a made up last name when my great great grandfather came across the pond, and his preschool teacher changed it. So Nathan Barkocy, I am the only one.
I love
And
that. Nathan
you can
Barkocy. You're never going to
find
find
me.
another Nathan Barkocy out there. He
That's right.
is the one and only.
And you can find me at nathanbarkocy.com. You can learn more about the True Wealth community at that website as well. You can find my podcast there. If you're looking for the book, it's truewealthbook.com. If you're looking for my podcast, it's oldnewtruewealth.com. And if you're looking for Nathan Barkocy, all things considered, that is Nathan Barkocy, BARKOCY.com.
And we're going to have all those links. And I imagine underneath one umbrella of his website, you will find all of those things if you're overwhelmed with as much. I mean, I know he's a genius at having, I'm just going to say it again. And I say everyone's got a genius, but when I say genius, I mean, I can feel the expansiveness. I can barely keep up with what you're building. And I love it. I can't wait to see what's next. Thank you for honoring us all here today. Thank you for everyone for showing up today. You're going to want to download this episode. You're going to want to replay it, because I can guarantee you, he said 3 things in here that are life shifting and changing. And you're going to want to absolutely get the book. I mean, I know enough about the book in just opening and reading, but I just can't wait to deep dive into it, because, and you're going to have to vote on having him back, but we're going to do it live. We're not going to do it. We're going to do it live, and we're going to answer questions about the book and unpack there too. Are you willing to do that next?
Absolutely. Yeah. The
There we
more
go.
time we can get to work on this together, the happier I will be.
There you go. You heard it here first. Nathan, thank you. Everyone, thank you for joining us today on the Dana Grant Show. Until next time, bye for now.